So The Sixth Sense is directed by M. Night Shyamalan and stars Bruce Willis as Malcolm Crowe, Haley Joel Osment as Cole Sear, and Toni Collette as Lynn Sear. Now, those are the three main characters that you actually need to pay attention to. Everyone else is just a side character that will eventually aid in leading us to the point of where we're eventually going to lead up to by the end of this movie as things slowly get revealed. So, if you've never actually seen this movie or heard much about this movie, the basic gist of it is a young mother is struggling raising her child because he seems to be going through a couple of things that she can't really explain. There are scratches on his arm. He's terrified at night, and she can't really explain that. So, in acquiring aid, this is where the character of Malcolm, played by Bruce Willis, steps in to provide some aid to this young boy to figure out what is the situation with him. And then slowly, when trust is built, the young man Cole begins to bring Malcolm into his world and shows him what's really been going on. That is the basic gist of this movie. Overall, I guess you could really say, in for one sense or another, Cole has a secret that he doesn't want to tell anyone, because if he were to tell someone, there's a very high chance, much like I would, they probably won't believe him. So he struggles with that. Is he going psycho? Is he losing his mind at such a young age? Is his mom, are her fears justified in any way? Should she be worried about her son? Obviously something's happening with him, and the terror of any parent is when something's happening to your child and you can't explain what's happening, and the child can't tell you because he knows that if he were to tell you, there's no chance that you would ever believe him. So this is the real struggle with this movie. Now, in stating all of that, this movie doesn't actually start there. One of the first people that you're introduced to actually is not so much Cole, but Malcolm. Malcolm is where this movie starts off, right? You get an idea as to what transpires with him, not until you get to the end as to when you really realize what actually happened to him. But this movie starts off with Malcolm, right? You see him enjoying a night out with his wife, and they're getting ready to just have a night out on the town, and his place is infiltrated by one of his patients, and this happens.
But if you just let me try, you just give me a chance.
Now, even though that scene cuts off and you never really see what it is that happened, so you don't know, was it just a flesh wound? Did it have any lasting effects? Malcolm is in the next scene, and you could see him reading over the transcript of his therapy sessions with the same patient that just shot him, right? You could see the date, you could see how he interacted with him when he was at a young age. And even in the first scene, you could even see also where he was struggling, trying to remember who it is that he was, and the guy was screaming out that you failed him, and you could tell that he has some kind of regret about that, right? Which is why he pushes so much energy into trying to help Cole. And you see when he first is introduced to Cole, one of the things that he realizes is actually on Cole's arm.
Ade Domine. It's called Latin.
I firmly believe that this is one of the movies that really pushed M. Night Shyamalan to kind of have the reputation that most of us gave him, which is, if not the king, maybe the prince of the plot twist, right? There are clues that are dropped in here to really show you how he's leading up to the end of this movie, and even in the middle of the movie, how it all fits at the end, right? He drops little clues here and there, namely in Malcolm's interactions with or lack thereof, his interactions or lack thereof with Cole's mom while he's sitting down in the house waiting for Cole so they could begin their therapy sessions. Another scene is where he's sitting down having a nice dinner with his wife, right? They're celebrating their anniversary, and she's not interacting with him, and he's late, so I could tell she looks a little frustrated. She's sitting down, and he's trying to talk to her about Cole and all that's been transpiring with him, and his wife wants nothing to do with him. She doesn't interact with him. She doesn't say anything. She just gets up and pays the bill and then walks off. Right now, that you could, if you're just blindly watching, you could kind of chalk that up to you know, little husband and wife squabble, right? It happens. Of course, there are other scenes like when Malcolm comes home. He's walking down the stairs and then he sees the doorknob is red and he realizes that he has no access to one part of the house, right? You could even see where in the shot it actually focuses a lot on the doorknob, and he made sure that it was red, so that there's a lot of emphasis on that doorknob because it has significance later on in the movie, right? And not just leading up to the conclusion of the movie where a secret is revealed, you even get indications as to what type of secret Cole is holding on to. There's a scene in here where Cole is having an outburst and he begins to poke fun at his teacher by referring to him as by a name or a slur that he used to be called when he was younger, and the teacher is almost puzzled as to how it is that Cole knows about that name. Right? It's not until later as to where you realize how Cole has that revelation, right? How he is in the know on what to say to really get at his teacher. And the teacher, of course, you know, here in that term, it takes him right back to when he was a child and he was being made fun of, and he was and he used to have little panic attacks, right? He used to have a little stuttering problem and the kids would make fun of him for that, and he has an outburst on Cole, and I think rightfully so, right? I mean, a kid starts hollering at you, calling you Stuttering Stanley, a name that as an adult you wouldn't think that you'd have to deal with that, especially from a kid in your class, right? You wouldn't think that you'd have to deal with that, but Cole has this outburst, and it's not until later when Cole actually reveals his secret as to why you realize, oh, well, that's how he knew what to do and what to say. Okay, that makes perfect sense now. Cole is a very sympathetic character. I mean, you feel sorry for this kid almost, man. You could see where he's trying to just hold it all in and trying to just hold himself together, and little things that normally we can do, he doesn't necessarily get to just do. He has to struggle through a lot, right? Not all his moments are bad though. I mean, he has little moments here and there where you could see a genuine smile manifesting on his face, but like when his mom is pushing him in the cart and they're just having that little moment, just mother and son. It's a beautiful moment because throughout all the trauma that this kid is dealing with internally, right, and externally as well, right, you see little glimpses of hope and happiness with him, and not all of it is good though, right? I mean, he has to pay a kid off to be his friend.
Hey freak, how'd you like that arm around the shoulder bit?
And the very same kid ends up locking him inside of a cellar later on, right? You hear a voice, you get indications even more into what it is that Cole is dealing with when you see Cole standing at the top of a staircase and you hear a voice calling to him, and the kids lock him inside that cellar, and you see the struggle with the mom as well as she's beating down on the door trying to get her son out. And the part of the problem here is you don't really know what it is transpiring with Cole and these spirits that he's being haunted by. You don't know if they're hurting him. You don't know if they're just trying to talk to him. You don't know if he's hurting himself because he's so freaked out. So it's really left up to mystery up until a certain point, right? But yeah, as I said, little things that we would normally be able to do, such as even using the bathroom. I really felt sorry for this kid at this one scene where he's just, you know, it's the middle of the night. He's a little boy. He's just trying to get up to use the bathroom, and he can't even get that little moment of peace because he's just so freaked out, and he knows that if he gets up, there's a really high chance that he's going to be haunted by something. And you know, you could see him kind of peeking out and just wondering, like, is it safe to get up? And you feel it for him because it's such a mundane task. You know, we all have to do it every now and then, getting up, use the bathroom, go back to bed peacefully. Not Cole. Cole doesn't get that. Cole doesn't get that moment of peace. Cole has to observe and peek and duck and wonder about things. And even when, the deed is done, he goes into the kitchen and lo and behold, right? So finally, between Cole and Malcolm, there's a level of trust that's developed there. And in their level of trust, they develop some form of a relationship where Cole doesn't believe that Malcolm is in this session for any malicious reasons, that he actually believes that he can rely on him, as Malcolm has proven that, you can actually rely on me. So Cole lets him into his world. And this is now where Cole wants to tell him a secret.
I want to tell you my secret now.
And out of that secret is the quote that I believe spawned more memes in the earlier stage of memes than I believe ever created ever, right? That term, we've all heard it. It's been parodied a million times. It's been shot a million times. Other movies have parodied this. People have made shorts on this to, have a bit of fun with it. And it was just this one scene. And Cole says something that took everyone aback when they first heard it. When he says, "I see dead people." And all of our reaction in that time, specifically in that time, was very much like Malcolm's, where after hearing that, you have to go, "Excuse me?"
I see dead people.
Funny enough, when Cole mentions that, I like Malcolm's reaction. Malcolm didn't dismiss it. Malcolm didn't try to overanalyze. He realized what was going on and came up with a couple of their theories on his own, but ultimately decided that he's gonna listen to Cole and let the chips fall where they may. All right. So, in saying that, now they create a strategy together. All right, and Malcolm asks Cole, "I understand that you might be terrified of these ghosts, but is it possible? Is it even slightly possible that these ghosts don't actually want to hurt you? Is it possible at all that they might actually want something from you? Like they may want your help. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try to ask one of them, what is it that you want? They're not just haunted. I mean, there's billions of people on the planet. Why is it that they are specifically coming to you? Yes, you can see them, but are they just jerks? I don't think so. So maybe, just maybe, they might need you for something to help them with a task."
What do you think these ghosts want when they talk to you?
And I like the fact that after creating that strategy, Cole, this little boy, he gets some kind of bravery, and in what I consider to be one of the most revealing scenes in this entire movie, it's a beautiful scene actually, where a young girl in Cole's tent, she's throwing up and Cole freaks out and runs away at first, but then, gets the guts to go back. And as scared as he is, and you could see the terror, oh my gosh, you could see the terror on his face, where he's trying his best just to hold himself together because he wants to just duck and just be a little kid. But he's forced to now just grow up in front of us almost, right? And he asks this little girl, "Can I help you with something? What do you want me to help you with?"
Do you want to tell me something?
And so she instructs him as to what it is that she wants, and thus we now have our answer. These ghosts aren't haunting Cole, they want his help. These ghosts have been harmed, and so they know that because he can see them, this sixth sense that he has, allows him to see and communicate with them. And in so doing that, they want to pass on something to him for someone else. So Cole is really working as a mediator between the living and the dead, if you were to put it. He's actually I think he might be the most legitimate medium. And throughout all of these moments of terror, you see all these dark spots, but again, there's a couple of bright spots in this movie that I really like. I mean, that smile on Cole's face is I think is absolutely genuine, where you just get little glimpses of him actually being happy and being a kid, actually getting to be a child again, right? Like when he pulls the sword out of the stone because he's the lead in the play. That looked like a genuine smile to me. Now, considering all of that, I said there are 3 characters that we need to pay attention to. Cole, obviously. Malcolm, obviously. Cole's mom. Cole's mom sold this movie for me. Cole already did a very good job, and Bruce Willis is one of my favorite action stars of all time, so it was very intriguing to see him in a role like this. In terms of acting, Bruce has just always been up there with me, right? But it was really Cole's mom that did it. Her reactions, just to name a couple, when her son is in the cellar and he's locked and trapped in the cellar, and you could see her struggling to just beat the door down, knowing that she can't get in, and just hearing her boy on the other side just screaming bloody murder. The terror on her face sold it. When she's discussing what's transpiring with the pendant, the bumblebee pendant that used to belong to her grandmother, someone keeps on moving it. Now there's only 2 people in the house, and she's right I completely agree with her. She's 100% right for this. There's only 2 people in this house. Someone keeps on moving this pendant. Someone keeps on moving this pendant out of my room. She asks him, Cole, is it you? And he continuously says no. What parent on earth would not conclude that that's a lie? Your son is looking at you right in your face and lying to you and telling you there's someone else moving the pendant. It just plays into the fact that she's not wanting to call him crazy, but she knows that he's struggling with something that she can't really explain, but she doesn't want him lying to her, right? So she rightfully reacts the way that I think most people would react, which is send him to his room. Now, scenes like that, I completely sympathize with her. But towards the end of this movie now, right at the close of this movie, there's an accident that transpires, and Cole decides that he's going to reveal secret number 2. He revealed it to Malcolm already, and now he's about to reveal this second secret to his mom.
Standing next to my window.
Oh, you're scaring me.
She's been struggling with trying to understand and communicate with Cole about what's been transpiring with him. And in them communicating in this car, Cole reveals to her that he knows what happened in front and what's causing the traffic jam, and why their car can't move, because a cyclist was hit. And so he says something to her that leaves her just absolutely befuddled. And I wouldn't fault her at that point for not believing him still. He says, well, this is what happened. I can see it, and the woman's at my window. Now, to drive home this point, Cole then takes it a step further. He now begins to get a little personal. With that pendant, he already told her that it's grandma who's moving it. And then tells her this.
She wanted me to tell you.
Oh, please.
She wanted me to tell you she saw you dance.
Now, the reason why all of that really hit home is because there's no way that Cole would have been privy to that information. So there's no way that she could really doubt and question him anymore. He now has revealed something to her about herself and her mom that he was not alive. he was not alive to see. There was nowhere where this was written down. So he got this information somehow that she can't really explain. And her face, her reactions are what sold this movie for me, because she absolutely looks puzzled, terrified, I'd even say, as to how her son knows this information. And then, of course, we have this is a tearjerker for me, I'll admit it, right? Where you could tell that she believes him at this point, because she's just in tears at the fact that she would go to her mom's grave and ask this question, and there's no way Cole would have known this information unless what he was saying was actually true. And this is the part where now you get the conclusion between the relationship with the mom and Cole, to know that everything is actually going to be all right between the two of them. Why? Because there is no reason to doubt the things that he's saying anymore, because he just simply revealed to you something that there's no way he could have known any of this. And his answer to her question, this question that she's been asking her deceased mother at the gravesite, is, do I make you proud? And Cole answers,
She said, the answer is every day.
Cole answers with every day, because the grandma has been communicating with Cole. A very, very beautiful scene, very touching scene. But it was this second clip as to why many of us considered M. Night, for the time being anyway, all right? For the time being, the king, if not maybe what the prince of the plot twist, I guess you would call it. It was this ending scene with Bruce, where if you hadn't picked up on it already and you were just casually watching the movie, then yeah, you wouldn't have picked up on it. But if you were able to pick up on the clues here and there, then that first scene you should have already noticed. There were some things that were happening in this movie that really should have indicated to you as to what was transpiring. The lack of interaction, the lack of communication, the lack of access, and then Cole's own words when he revealed his secrets, that they don't know that they're in this state. That should have been enough to really reveal what it is was transpiring with Bruce. But even though you picked up on it, you cannot tell me that this last scene in this movie was not still very impactful.
I see people. They don't know they're dead.
Why? The music was on point. The scene was on point. How it brought everything back, and even introduced Cole's own scene when he's telling him, I see dead people. Cole can see them, and then you start to realize, oh my gosh, all of the little hints here and there. Whenever you see Malcolm's character interacting, notice something. He's only really interacting with Cole, who has already revealed that he can see a certain group of people in a certain state, right? This movie was early brilliance, very early brilliance. This movie is one of those that even when you go back now, you could still find little clues here and there. And I think in M. Night Shyamalan's earlier days, even though he makes a cameo in this movie, of course, right, as the doctor, in his earlier days, you could have, I think it was fair to say that he was one of the most influential and best directors out there, especially after making a movie like this. I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10, just out of sheer brilliance. The pacing, the tone, the horror aspect to it. There's a lot of terrifying scenes in here, but it's mainly because you get to view the movie through the eyes of all three individuals. You get to see it from Bruce's point, you get to see it from Cole's point, you get to see it from the mom's point, that you get to sympathize with all of them and understand the struggles that they're all dealing with in trying to get this kid well, right? But if you're in Cole's shoes, you know that there's nothing wrong with you. You can't really communicate these things to people, because this is the type of stuff that gets people put in straitjackets, if you guys understand what I mean, right? So I think this movie was just absolutely brilliant when it came out. It's not just one of the best horror movies that I've ever seen. I think it's one of the best movies that I've ever seen, and easily goes within my list of favorites. If you haven't seen this, please, for Halloween, give it a watch. I don't think that you will regret it. But that is all I have for now. You guys let me know what it is that you think. If there's anything that I might have missed, even any clues that might stand out to you, by all means, point them out to me. I will look forward to hearing back from you. And that is all I got for now. I'll see you guys later for the next one. See ya.